This will be one of 4 videos on the subject of right speech. And so this first part is about careless speech. I chose to put this one first, both because it was a recent subject of discussion, and also because practicing non-careless speech, being careful and attentive to our speaking, is a kind of prerequisite for all other right speech. So I'll start by telling a story that comes from Persia, which is the story of a tapestry weaver, a thief, and a king. So the story goes that there is a tapestry weaver who has been given a commission to design and weave a huge tapestry, very intricate, by hand. And he's making this for the king. And this is the type of tapestry that takes at least 1 year to complete. It's incredibly elaborate, intricate, very beautiful. And so the weaver is working all day, every day, weaving his tapestry. But what he doesn't know is that also every day there is a man who comes to his window and who looks through the window to check on the progress of the tapestry. Now this man is a thief, and his plan is to steal the tapestry as soon as the weaver is finished weaving it. So he's waiting for the moment when the tapestry will be finished and that the thief will leave it alone in order to go and steal it at that point, because the tapestry is worth the equivalent of millions of dollars in today's money. So the thief is coming every day, and as he comes every day and he watches at the window, he notices something strange. Every time when he comes, he hears the tapestry weaver saying something. And what the tapestry weaver is saying is, "The loose tongue cuts off its own head. The loose tongue cuts off its own head." He's repeating this over and over again like a mantra as he weaves. So the thief hears this and finds it a bit puzzling and doesn't really understand what's going on, but he doesn't really care because anyway, his aim is just to steal the tapestry. So he keeps going every day and checking how it's going until finally the day comes when the tapestry is finished. But the thief misses his chance because instead of leaving the tapestry alone, the tapestry weaver is so happy to have finally finished the tapestry and he wants to waste no time in going to show it to the king. So immediately, without any delay, he takes it off the loom and goes to see the king. So the thief is thinking, "Oh, damn it, I missed my chance." But he follows the tapestry weaver anyway because now he's put 1 year into watching this man and he's a bit interested to see what will happen, and he thinks maybe he will get his chance still at some point. So with great ceremony, the tapestry is finally brought before the king, to great applause and admiration from all the courtiers and everybody around the king. And the tapestry weaver, standing proudly in front of the king, is asked by this king, "So, what is it used for? A beautiful tapestry like that?" And the tapestry weaver replies, "Its purpose is to cover the tomb of the king." So of course then the king looks at him and he says, "Oh, so I see that you desire my death, that's it. This is treason. Off with his head." And it's at that moment that the thief runs into the courtroom and cries out, "No, no, don't kill him." And he throws himself before the tapestry weaver and says to the king, "Please, I have an explanation. I know why he said that." So the king says, "Okay, you have 1 chance, you may explain." And so then the thief explains that he has been watching this man for 1 year with the intention of stealing his tapestry, and that for 1 year he heard this man repeating his mantra, "The loose tongue cuts off its own head." So in fact, he knew his own weakness. His weakness is that he never can hold his tongue, or he doesn't know how to speak properly. He always says the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong person. And he knows this. He's had problems with it before, and he's trying to persuade himself, to train himself not to do this, to remind himself not to do this. But still, at the moment when the king asked him this question, he forgot everything and he just said totally the wrong thing at the wrong time. "Sire, it's not that he desires your death," the thief explains. "It's just that he never knows what to say. He said the wrong thing at the wrong time." And so finally, the king is so impressed with the honesty and bravery of the thief that he rewards him and gives him a lot of money. That's the end of the story. "The loose tongue cuts off its own head" is a well-known Persian proverb, but very few people know the origin of the proverb. So that story is where it comes from. And it's a story that very nicely shows us the difficulty of having awareness and being able to pay attention, to be careful about what we say. For most people, most of the things we regret doing in life most involve not necessarily our physical actions, but our words, what we have said at the wrong time, driven by emotion or reacting to what somebody else has said, or just being careless, not thinking about what we say. It's a very nice example in the story because for a few reasons. One reason is that it shows us the pure aspect of carelessness in regard to speech, how much damage it can do. Because this tapestry weaver is not acting, he's not being malicious, he's not wanting deliberately to hurt the king's feelings. He's not lying. It may be the truth that this type of tapestry is traditionally used to cover the tomb of a king. So he's not being dishonest and he's not trying to be cruel. He's not angry. He's just acting out of pure carelessness, out of not knowing, not thinking, not being aware. This is what we call, there's a word for it in Pali, but we don't have a particular perfect word in English called moha, just acting out of not knowing, not thinking, being inattentive. When we are inattentive to our speech, it is very, very easy to say things that we will later regret. Either because we say something that hurts somebody without knowing, either because we are dishonest automatically out of wanting to defend ourselves or wanting to hide something that we don't want others to know, but that then creates more problems for us later, or because we make a fool of ourselves and invite criticism from others, or for any other number of reasons. The other thing that the story shows very nicely is how difficult it is to be attentive to our speech. Even if this weaver has spent every single day repeating this mantra to himself, I should not talk without thinking, I should be careful with my speech, the loose tongue cuts off its own head. Even if he knows his problem, still, at the moment when the king asks him the question, for whatever reason, either because he is disturbed by all the commotion of the courtroom or because he is so happy and proud of having finally finished his tapestry, or because simply, as I said, just not being attentive, not thinking, still he totally forgets everything that he says, and now he doesn't consider what are the consequences of what he will say. He doesn't consider who he's speaking to. He doesn't consider what that will mean for the person to whom he speaks and what it seems to say. He doesn't consider the effect of his speech. Once it is spoken, a careless word is like an arrow. You can't take it back. So you have to treat it as if it's an arrow, really speaking. You have to know where it's going to hit and what will be its effect when it hits there. But because it's so difficult to be attentive to this and so easy to lose our attention or lose our awareness at that point, because we go into a subject most of the time because we're not able to keep our intention inside and we're reacting to the other person, and because it's also very easy for us to speak purely on emotion, that when we're speaking with people we can get very easily emotional. So for all of these reasons it's very difficult to maintain the right awareness of speech. But it is essential to develop this awareness. We might not have it in the beginning, but we can practice to develop it. And there are tools we can use. First is knowing what is wrong speech and being attentive to not engage in those kinds of wrong speech. So I'll talk more in detail about the 3 kinds of wrong speech in the other videos that we will do. But for now, I'll just name them briefly. The first is no false speech, so no lying. The second is no speech founded on ill will, so no speech that is done out of the desire to hurt somebody. And thirdly, no talking nonsense. So by understanding and knowing these ways of wrong speech very well, this is one way that we can start to guard our speech. Another way is to practice having a plan of what we will say before we speak. So having a basic idea of what are the points we want to make and how we need to bring them. So knowing, okay, I want to reach this point C, so I need to talk about A and B in order to get to C, for example. And obviously it's not going to be possible to do this in every circumstance and with literally everything that we say, but it's something that we can practice in order to help ourselves gain more awareness of what we're saying and not just blurt out the first thing that comes into our minds. The third thing, and the most important thing, which should actually be applied first in the beginning, is to practice in general all the time in everything that we do having sati, so having mindfulness, awareness of all of our intentions, of our thoughts, our words, our actions in everything. So as I said before, speaking is one of the most difficult places to have sati, but if we have already practiced a lot and developed a strong sati in our physical movements, for example, or in general throughout the day, then it's going to, of course, be much easier to also have sati, have mindfulness and awareness of what we are saying before we speak.